If you look on the shelves right next to where that one is, you will find another one that has a lower gram of added sugar because the manufacturers are getting wise and they are recognizing that we are getting smarter and more educated and their products would sell. Hi, welcome to the Judy Terrell Show, where I explore topics intended to optimize everybody 50, 60, 70, and above. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Your Second 50. And if you're joining me on this episode, then you are in my second out of 6 episodes of my series that I've entitled The Guidebook for How to Lower Pre-Diabetes A1C Numbers when you're over 50 years old as a male and a female. All right, welcome everybody. This is episode number 2, and I am addressing a very specific, issue and thing that you can track to help you to get your A1C down under 5.6 in that kind of gray area where you'll be diagnosed as pre-diabetic. All right. So now, like everyone pretty much knows that added sugars are something to be avoided, to be minimized, and that it is one of the top 3, if not the number 1, contributors to diabetes being an epidemic, not to mention obesity. But this series is about diabetes and pre-diabetes, so that is what we're addressing. That the added sugars in our food has really gone viral, and it has, if you look at epidemiological charts, you'll see that as the food chain has changed, the incidence of diagnosed pre-diabetes and diabetes is going right up with it. All right. So we have to be watchful and mindful of added sugars. In my work with my clients, I find that a lot of people are not aware of what they can be looking at on the labels to assess, at what amount of added sugar should they take in, what food product should they decide to eat. Obviously, eating 0 added sugar grams would be the 100% perfectionistic A1, number 1 way to go. But most of my clients, their lifestyles and psychological patterns they're not willing to go to that level of 0 added sugars. So, and they're not willing to eat just foods that aren't somewhat processed. So that's what this episode is about. I'm going to give you some guidelines on what you can use as you're looking at labels to decide whether or not this is a food that should be added into your daily eating or weekly eating, and or it shouldn't be, and there's something else that you can substitute that's close to get you that product without having to feel deprived. All right. So as of 2020, the FDA had changed around food labeling laws, and every product of food that has a label had to then add a line that is called added sugars. All right. So, if you look at a food product, and I've got a couple different, examples here to illustrate, there's a label, right? And you'll see it'll say calories per serving. And you have to look at what serving is that they're talking about to be careful, because you'll assume it's like 1 serving for the box and maybe it's 4, so be careful about that. But then underneath that, they'll go into total fat grams per serving, not per container. Then if you go a little lower, you'll see the total carbs right here per serving, and it'll give you a gram number right here, total fat gram number. It'll give you total protein per serving gram number. And then under the carb as a subcategory, it's going to say added sugar grams. And as you can see in this product, there's 0 grams of added sugar. So that added sugar category is what you want to be extra careful about if you have been diagnosed with pre-diabetes and your doctor has given you 6 months to make dietary changes and lifestyle changes to see if you can get that number down. That added sugar number, grams, is what you want to eyeball on anything that you're eating. Now, obviously 0 grams of added sugar is going to be a product for you to eat. Like this would be, a good thing. It's something I do recommend. It's a rice cracker. It can be used as a kind of open face sandwich replacer for white flour, bread, which again, if you watch episode number 1 in this series, and if you haven't, go back and find it. I talked about white flour products being almost higher, in A1C upping than sugars. But so this product here is something I recommend to replace, a bread product. But the reason why I'm showing you this here is because I'm trying to now show you how to look at a label. So if it says 0 grams of added sugar, then yes, this could be something that would be a product you could use for the carb part of your meal when combined with protein and fat to make up a meal. If you are pre-diabetic, I would not recommend you eat anything that is, highest in carb. This is 24 grams of carb, 1 gram of fat and 2 grams of protein. So this product is a carb product. So if you have a A1C number that's, either on the borderline of pre-diabetic or diabetic, you would never want to have a pure, like a high carbohydrate food by itself. You need the protein and the fat to dilute the release into the bloodstream. But when you are choosing the starchy carb, you want to be, if you're going to go outside the whole food starchy carb options of the low starch vegetables and the starchy vegetables and the things I covered in episode number 1, then you're going to look on the label and you want to make sure that you're seeing like a low added sugar gram number per serving. So obviously 0 is good. That would be a product that you could probably incorporate into your eating plan. But there are a lot of products that people are not necessarily looking at, or because they're assuming that it would be low sugar, and then they're not on the plan for lowering A1C, and they'll go back to their doctor in 6 months and be surprised to find that it's not higher. I mean, it's not lower. It might even be higher. And one of the things I'm going to illustrate that with is this dark chocolate. So this is a 60% cacao bar, dark chocolate. And hi, everybody. I wanted to interrupt this podcast because I want to give you something. Your Second 50.life is my virtual platform that is designed for both men and women over 50 and 60, 70, and 80. And it includes pre-recorded video information on exercise and how to do it, whether you're fit and in good health, or if you have bad knees, bad shoulders, a bad back, whatever. It includes information on how to eat for weight management and how to eat for health management. It includes information on the psychology of aging and what do we need to do in our heads. Because let's face it, this aging thing is not for the faint of heart. So your Second 50.life is a virtual platform of resources that you can access at your own leisure, but it also includes 2 times a month live video coaching with me so that you can bring your own individual questions and get individual coaching, as well as have access to all the information on the pre-recorded videos. So please check it out, because we're all in this together and we got this if we work as a team. All right, everybody, back to the show. I have a lot of clients that will be using dark chocolate bars because they're pre-diabetic, because then they're thinking that they're low in added sugar, and they are definitely lower in added sugar than, let's say, a Snickers bar or a Hershey's regular chocolate bar. But what I want to show you here is that if you look at this is 2.5 servings. I don't know if you can see it. Here we go. 2.5 servings per container, and each serving is 170 calories. And if you scroll down to that added sugar line, look at that, 11 grams of added sugar for 2.5 servings in this bar. So if you ate the whole bar, for instance, that would be 22 plus 5, let's say, 27 grams of added sugar. But even if you have the suggested serving size here of, it's a little bit less than 1/3 of the bar, you're picking up 11 grams of added sugar. That is high. All right. So now I want to give you a formula so that you can be looking at the grams of added sugar and stay in the range that is, like, obviously it's not like, it'll be higher than 0 maybe, but not so high as to be offsetting your efforts at trying to lower your A1C. And that number is 5 or less. And 5 or less for all my over 50 clients I work with is my suggestion. And if you're pre-diabetic, I would make it 4 or less. 4 or less grams of added sugar per serving of whatever it is that you're looking at eating. is what you want to start to make yourself aware of as you're deciding products to use on your eating plan that come in a box or a container. Here's another one, and this is it's a muffin. It's made with zucchini and carrots. It is something I recommend to my clients that are not pre-diabetic, but are trying to control for their weight in their 50s and 60s. But so look at the added sugars, 10 grams per muffin. There's 4 muffins in this box. So 10 grams is actually a higher amount of added sugar than I would recommend if I was working with someone who's pre-diabetic. Because it's double, if not 2.5 times, the 4 grams I'm recommending that you would look into, that you'd be looking at to try and stay within the range. So 4 grams of added sugar or less. But this is a compelling the reason why I showed you these 2 products is because one of them is a muffin made from zucchini and carrots. The other one is the dark chocolate. These are products that when you first look at them, if you're not looking at the grams of added sugar, you might be seduced into thinking, oh, this would be a good thing for my pre-diabetic condition, when they're not. But now you have a tool. You have this number that you can look at, 4 grams or less per serving of added sugars, not total sugars, because that's a different thing. That goes back to episode number 1. All carbohydrates are sugars, but it's the added sugars that is the major contributor to the rampage of diabetes that is going on in our country and our world right now. So the reason why I suggest 4 or less is because, we all get the blood work done when we go to our annual physician appointment, and it's 100 grams or less of sugar. No, it's 100 units of sugar in the blood. That is, the line for whether or not you're getting a red flag for pre-diabetic. But that's not grams. It doesn't really correspond with, if you're looking at a label, with added grams of sugar. What I'm going to tell you is that our bodies, when they're in homeostasis, it's about 4 grams of added sugar that is in that like the sweet spot for our sugar level. And that would correspond with about 100 reading on your blood glucose levels. But so you want to try and eat things that are not going to double or triple or quadruple that at any one time, because that is going to shoot the blood sugars up and then create that pre-diabetic condition. So 4 grams or less, that's where the 4 gram of added sugar came from. Now you're staying within the sweet spot of where your body likes to stay in terms of grams of sugar circulating in your blood at any one given time. The difference is the unit of measurement. I'm talking about grams. All the labels talk about grams, and that is not converted into the 100 number that shows up on your blood glucose blood panels. The 100 glucose level is about 4 grams of added of sugar circulating through the blood. So it's important for you to know that. And it's important for you to know that you want to stay within that when you're taking foods in, because you don't want to jump that up. And you definitely don't want to be jumping that up on a regular basis, multiple times a day. So 4 grams or less of added sugar. Look at your labels of the foods that you're eating. Look at the ones that you are assuming that are okay, because they may not be. And for every product you find that is over that, if you look on the shelves right next to where that one is, you will find another one that has a lower gram of added sugar, because the manufacturers are getting wise and they are recognizing that we are getting smarter and more educated, and their products won't sell. And hopefully this is the way it's going to keep going if more people get educated as to what to look for. All right. So thank you for joining me on this episode. This is episode number 2 of my guidebook of 6-part series. So there's 4 more on what you need to do to keep your, to lower down and get out of the pre-diabetic category when you're over 50 as a male or female. If you've gotten good information from this and you're looking for more, I welcome you to go to my Your Second 50 platform. Take a look at it. There I have a virtual library of all things related to optimal health and looking and feeling good as we're aging. And it's a virtual library, not just for prediabetes, but all different health conditions, all different information about how to keep your weight in the range you like to look aesthetically, for, just aesthetics and for health, things about sleep, things about exercise, like psychological aspects of our daily patterns and how to keep ourselves on the good ones and try to not fall victim of the bad ones. A whole library. So please take a look and subscribe. And I hope you will continue on this guidebook for the next 4. And so I'll see you in the next video, everybody. And, this aging process is not for the faint of heart, but, with the right information and with good habit changes and patterns, we got this. And if you'd like to have access to some of my additional resources, I can be found at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on my website, www.judyterrell.com.